Today we're diving deep into a threat that every single property owner faces. It's an enemy that works silently, tirelessly, and honestly, a lot of the time, completely out of sight. It causes billions in damage every year, and it could actually be active in your home right now.
So let me ask you, what do you think is the single most destructive force you can face inside your own walls? I mean, it's not fire, it's not wind, it's not even pests. Nope. The answer is something way more common and a whole lot more sneaky.
You got it. It's water. A burst pipe, a slow, tiny leak, or just a really bad storm, any one of these can unleash this quiet invader that literally dismantles a house from the inside out.
So let's explore how that happens.
To really get a grip on this problem, we're going to zoom in on one specific place, the city of York, Pennsylvania. It's a perfect example of where geography, history, and weather all collide to create, well, a perfect storm for water damage.
So what's going on in York? Well, first off, it sits in a river valley with this clay-heavy soil that basically acts like a giant sponge, always pushing groundwater up against foundations. Now, picture this. A ton of the homes there are old. We're talking 1800s and 1900s, with these old stone foundations that were never built for modern waterproofing. Then you add in harsh winter freezes that burst pipes and sticky, humid summers that are just perfect for mold, and you've got yourself a year-round, constant threat.
All right, so how does a little bit of water turn into a full-blown catastrophe? You know, it's not an instant thing, it's more like a chain reaction. Let's break down exactly how that process unfolds.
Okay, so it all kicks off with the initial intrusion, the leak itself. From there, materials like your drywall and wood, they just act like a wick, soaking up all that moisture. Once they're saturated, you hit a really critical point. Mold starts to grow. And then, finally, the water and the mold team up to cause actual structural decay. We're talking rotting, warping, and compromising the very bones of your home.
And what kicks off this whole destructive chain? Well, the sources are all things you probably recognize. Think about it. A basement getting flooded from a heavy rain, a pipe bursting in the middle of a winter freeze, or heck, even a simple supply hose on your washing machine giving out. Any one of these everyday problems can unleash thousands of gallons of water exactly where you don't want it.
So when one of these water events happens, you're not just fighting the water, you are literally fighting time itself. The single most important factor in how this all turns out is how fast you react.
This number right here, this changes everything. 24 to 48 hours. In a humid place like York, that's really all the time you have before mold spores, which, by the way, are always just floating around in the air, start to colonize all those damp materials. And once that window closes, the problem gets exponentially more complex, more dangerous, and way more expensive to fix. So the absolute key is how you respond in that little window. You might be tempted to just grab some towels and a shop vac, but believe me, the risks of doing it yourself are huge. You're almost guaranteed to leave behind hidden moisture that just fuels more mold and rot. Professionals, on the other hand, they use specialized gear to find every last drop and follow science-based protocols to make sure the structure is totally dry, all while creating the kind of paperwork your insurance company is going to demand. And that brings us to the really cool part. The modern solution. See, professional water damage restoration isn't just about mopping up. It's an applied science that uses some pretty amazing technology to reverse the damage.
I absolutely love this quote because it just gets right to the heart of it. This isn't about guessing if something feels dry. It's about using proven methods and tools to measure, to document, and to verify that the job is done right. That's how you prevent huge problems down the road.
And just so you know, this isn't some made-up process. It's all governed by a formal industry standard called the IICRC S500. The easiest way to think of it is as the official playbook for restoration. It lays out all the scientific principles for drying out buildings and controlling microbial growth. Any certified pro worth their salt lives by this standard. And just look at the tools of the trade on this slide. Forget about your little household fans. We're talking about truck-mounted pumps that can pull out thousands of gallons an hour. Thermal cameras that can literally see water hidden behind your walls, and these incredibly powerful dehumidifiers that pull moisture straight out of wood and concrete. It's basically structural medicine for a sick house.
The whole process is super methodical. It always starts with a detailed assessment and getting all that standing water out immediately. Next up is the really crucial structural drying phase, which can take several days. And finally, everything is verified with meters to prove it meets the scientific dry standard before any of the repair work even begins.
Look, getting the house dry is the first major battle, but it's not the end of the war. After that, you've got to navigate the aftermath. And that means dealing with insurance, figuring out the costs, and getting on the path to a full recovery. And this is the question every single homeowner asks. The emergency is over, all the loud equipment is gone, but the journey isn't, not by a long shot. Now comes the paperwork. Okay, understanding your insurance policy here is absolutely critical. Most standard policies will cover what they call sudden and accidental damage, think a burst pipe, but they'll often exclude gradual leaks from, say, poor maintenance. And here is the big one. No standard policy covers flooding from rising water, like a river overflowing its banks. For that, you need a totally separate flood insurance policy.
So, what's going to drive the final bill? Well, it really depends on a few key things. The single biggest factor is the category of the water. As you can see, there's a world of difference between Category 1, which is clean water from a supply line, and Category 3, which is disgusting, contaminated water from something like a sewage backup. That requires way more safety protocols and intense cleanup. After that, of course, the sheer size of the affected area and what got wet, like expensive hardwood floors, also play a huge role.
And if there is one thing you remember about the money side of all this, please let it be this. The detailed documentation a professional gives you, all the photos, the daily moisture readings, the detailed notes, that isn't just for show. It is your single best weapon to make sure your insurance claim gets processed smoothly and, most importantly, doesn't get denied.
So, after all the drying, all the repairs, all the paperwork, your home is finally back to normal. But here's the final, crucial question I want to leave you with. Your house might be restored, sure, but is it resilient? Because fixing the damage is one thing, but understanding the weaknesses that let it happen in the first place and taking steps to prevent it from ever happening again, well, that's the real challenge.